Call the meeting to order at 9:08. This is the Quapaw Nation Business Committee monthly meeting here May 21st. And I'd like to welcome everyone. And this is our first conducted meeting within the Cahota Center, I believe, at least under my chairmanship. So pretty interesting this morning. I think we're all getting settled in nice and cozy. But if there's any latecomers, we'll try to accommodate them as best we can with seating. And before we get started, just a housekeeping. Because of the memorial dinner today, you'll notice the closed session in the agenda is placed before the open forum. That was totally intentional. Although we respect and it's important for our citizens and our members to bring their concerns and their issues within open forum. We want to hear those. However, there are matters that need to be tended to within closed session. And because the memorial dinner is happening, we would like to conclude by 11:30. And out of respect for those going to the services. And so that's why the agenda is set the way that it is. And if I could I have Michelle give our invocation?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. And we thank you, Lord, that we can come together as a committee, Lord, and as our general counsel, Lord, to conduct business, Lord, for our tribe, for our people. We just pray, Lord, that you be with those that aren't able to make it today for whatever reason. We just pray for your hand of protection around them. Be with those, Lord, that are suffering and hurting today, Lord, and Lord, those that have lost loved ones. And today is an important day, Lord, as we celebrate and have our memorial dinner to remember those, Lord, that we have lost. And we do pray, Lord, for those that are grieving. And Lord, I still grieve every day, Lord, for the loved ones that I have lost. And I just pray with you, be with those, Lord, that are doing the same. And I just ask, Lord, that we come today to do business for our nation. And I pray that you'll guide and direct everything that we say and do today, not only for the betterment of our nation, but for the betterment, Lord, to be witnesses for you. And we just love you, Lord, and we thank you for all that you do for us and all that you give us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Michelle. Roll call and declaration of quorum. Mr. Secretary Treasurer.
This thing hot? Okay. Jeremy? Michelle? Zach? Lloyd? Guy present. Callie? Joseph?
I am here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you, Secretary Treasurer. Yes, Mr. Buffalo. Okay, set the orders
Second.
of the day. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Buffalo and a second by Secretary Treasurer. Any discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries and the time for adjournment is set at 11:30. Thank you, Mr. Buffalo. Dropping down to the reading, correction, and approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Secretary Treasurer and a second by Mr. Turley. Any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to make one comment, please.
Okay.
That in our meeting minutes, that we stick to the action that was taken and not do so much transcript. And just stick to the official action of the day.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? The motion passes and the approval of the minutes, the minutes have been approved. Next up is the reading, correction, and approval of foam poles. If someone would be so kind as to resuscitate those.
go through, excuse me, frog in my throat. We'll go through these kind of one at a time. So we have our administration campus architecture exercise where we made a selection with a architecture firm to start the preliminary engineering designs for a administrative office campus. And so that we over the past couple of years have started to run into capacity issues in terms of our office space for our employees to the point to where we are in mobile structures as well. We're trying to remedy that now. That we are kind of planning for future financial availability to be able to do that. So the first steps in being able to do that is going to start the architecture design and figure out the true impact of what the cost will be. This proposal passed by majority. Second would be the purchase of a piece of property by Mr. Floyd McKibben, or from Mr. Floyd McKibben, up at the corner. It'd be right across the street from the OLC. This also passed by majority as well. And we have the approval of several new job descriptions for the IT department. And this also passed unanimously. Okay. We have a phone poll request for the purchase of a piece of property right out on highway or a road, east, 50 road. That belonged to Mr. Ray. This passed unanimously as well. We're looking to this location in the future for more housing. This has been a really big struggle for us, maybe the last year and a half, is being able to find a suitable piece of property that will comply with our grant requirements, that will pass an environmental survey, but is also at least close enough to utilities that we can effectively and affordably build housing. Then we have a motion brought to separate the general council handbook that will be given out to members at this year's general council meeting. That we will have it broken out into several books, one being a tribal resources handbook and the other being all the audited financials, both for the tribe as well as our enterprises. This passed unanimously as well. And let's see. We have another phone poll for the engineering design for the water and electric engineering design for the powwow grounds, whereby we are putting together an engineering design in order to provide water and electricity to every single powwow camp. And this passed by majority as well. Then we have another phone poll for a purchase of another piece of property out kind of by Blue Hole. It's along the river. This passed by majority as well. And then we have a request from the Constitution Committee for approval for legal counsel, and this passed unanimously by the Business Committee. This concludes our phone polls for the month. Sorry, I had one that was right in the middle of the deal. We have one that was on a proposal for a piece of land that was offered to sell to the tribe located in the state of Missouri. This offer was rejected by the Business Committee. Another initial offer for a piece of property that we then later approved, but the initial offer itself was rejected on that McKibben property just across the street from the OLC. And that concludes this month's phone polls.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary Treasurer. We have a motion to approve the phone polls as presented by Mr. Buffalo,
Second.
second by Mr. Secretary Treasurer. Any discussion?
I'd just like it noted that some of the counts at the end were off. We've heard from Steve that those were fixed. They're just not shown in the minutes here. So, yeah. Yep, they will reflect on the website.
Thank you, Mr. Turley. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. And the phone polls for the month are approved as presented. Dropping down to item number 6, Treasurer's Report. We have a motion to approve the report by Mr. Buffalo,
Second.
second by Mr. Turley. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes and the treasurer's report is approved. Next up is the directors and subcommittees reports submitted.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve by Secretary Treasurer and a second by Ms. Newton. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes and the directors and subcommittee reports submitted are also approved. Dropping down to item number 8, I would like to give a chairman's report at this moment. Please bear with me while I go through my notes here. So for this last month, I'd like to start with our Saracen Casino property, where I'm proud to announce that our actual EBITDA for March was $7.6 million, which was an increase of $2.6 million from the previous month. We anticipate meeting or exceeding budgeted EBITDA in each of the coming months to close out the year. Saracen recognized $699,000 in interest expense in March, which is a reduction of $3 million compared to the prior year in the same month. So we last 2021 where we paid $3.7 million in interest expense. I'm proud to announce that our mobile sports wagering app, Bet Saracen, is now live, and the initial results have been impressive in terms of overall number of downloads and actual bet revenue compared to our brick and mortar sports book. And what's encouraging is this is not a cannibalization of our existing player database, but an increase in new players throughout the state of Arkansas. A little insight into the sports book and our app by way of fighting with and effectively beating the big brand name sportsbook operators found in Las Vegas and throughout the country. Saracen keeps the largest majority of that revenue instead of a model of 85% going to the bigger corporations. So I think that's a win. Red Oak at Saracen picked up another award, not for the best steakhouse, but overall best restaurant in the state. Congratulations to the entire Red Oak team at Saracen. We have selected a general contractor for the Phase 2 build. All construction contracts are being reviewed by our legal counsel. And once that is complete, we will begin pre-construction exercises with all parties involved. Our leverage ratio, meaning our cash on hand, must hit a certain threshold before we can commence. But we are outperforming our projected expectations. Around December, we gave the projection that it would commence in July, and it looks like we may be on schedule to start that a month early. So big thanks to the Saracen leadership out there for hitting those exceeding our expectations. And big thanks to our owner representative, Chris Samples, for his work and dedication to the Saracen project. Downstream property. April 2021 was the best month in Downstream history in terms of revenue and EBITDA. April 2022 was a little down from that, but still posted incredible numbers. Where we are positioned at the end of the 7th month, our strong EBITDA performance is on track to setting another record in the history of the Downstream property. So we're extremely proud of that. In terms of interest savings, we paid $1.6 million less interest than we did the previous April last year. That's a total reduction of $53,000 per day. The recent increase in interest rate has affected those numbers some, but the overall performance of the property continues to be exceptionally strong. And we are also proud of the performance and the personnel from the executive leadership all across the organization, and we appreciate their efforts. Switching gears to the tribal government side, the Quapaw Nation Easter egg hunt last month was an overall success. And again, I'd like to thank the volunteers and employees that helped with the event. Overall, we hid, I think, 5,000 eggs, and we fed over 100 people. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to Steve Stan for leading the coordination of everyone. We appreciate you, Steve. Thank you. On May 17th and 18th, the Department of Justice, I met with the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General to discuss important topics impacting not just Quapaw, but all of Indian country. And I was honored to be selected by the 17 tribal leaders in the Eastern Oklahoma region to represent our region on the Tribal Nations Leadership Council. It's an advisory committee to the DOJ, and over the course of 2 days, we discussed implementing other legislation such as Savannah's Act and the Not Invisible Act as it pertains to missing and murdered Indigenous people and domestic violence throughout Indian country. We spoke on grant funding. There was training topics as well as opioid addiction, and then other issues of public safety, including McGirt. And it was a really robust dialogue with the top law enforcement official in the United States. And I'm working on having him come down to this part of the region here in the next year. So stay tuned. May 20th, our April Employee Appreciation was held yesterday. The theme was a luau, and there were a lot of wonderful door prizes given, and we honored certain employees with their anniversary pins and certificates in recognition of their service to our tribe. Special thanks to Donna Mercer and Leon Crow, and I'd like to congratulate them on 20 years of service to our tribe and to our community at this time. Coming up on May 26th, the Quapaw Nation Education Banquet at the Downstream Pavilion, 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. There will be food, door prizes, and the graduation incentive will also be given out as we honor all of our graduates. Please inform your graduate, if you have any in your family or your friends, to reach out to our education department, and if they're not already attending. And just want to extend a congratulations to all of our graduates this semester for finishing strong. So congratulations. And finally, I want to give a report on the Resin Beyond Festival on June 30th. We continue to confirm acts, but right now we have Northern Cree, Mike Bone, Halusi Nation, Indigenous, Stinjati, the Redmond Blues Band, Jonathan Joss, the Travis Bond Band, DJ Superman, and Stephen Paul Judd. And there we are continuing to confirm more acts as we get closer to the date. We are still in need of Indigenous vendors for food and merchandise. So if you know of a food vendor or a merchandise vendor, please have them reach out to our communications department. And the same goes for local area artists. We'd love to showcase our own tribal talent at this event, both on the stage as well as in the vendor setup. So tickets for the event are now on sale for, I believe, $20 at our Hackathon gift shop, and they can also be ordered over the phone. And we made the event free to all youth under 18 and all elders 55 and older. And that is all I have at this time. Thank you. Dropping down to the accounting report, Mr. Eric Boone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So the numbers I'm sharing today are for the first 7 months of the fiscal year, ending April 30th. April, we received $2.5 million in revenue in our general fund, bringing our total for the year to 13.1 million. Actual expenses for April were $2.5 million, bringing our total for the year to 14.7 million. Tribal member health benefits for April were $411,000, bringing our total for the year to 2.5 million. Social services was 257,000 for April, bringing our total for the year to 1.7 million. And education expenses were $12,000 in April, bringing our total for the fiscal year to 620,000. And then we also received from our tribal enterprises under the government, the QSA, Quapaw cattle, food services. We received $700,000 to our general fund in the month of April. Does anybody have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Boone? Good report. Thank you, sir. Okay, subcommittee reports. First up, Constitution Committee, Mr. Roman Cahiga. In the
Good morning,
process.
everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Roman. We can hear you.
Oh, I'm a little under the weather, so bear with me. We got some sort of cough. It's not COVID. But all right. So our Constitution Committee has started meeting weekly. We've got a lot on our plate right now. What we're currently working on is getting a booklet prepared for the voting membership to give some information. We're calling it our informed voting pamphlet, so that everybody knows what we're going to be voting on and what it means if we don't, and what it means if we do vote on it. It's my understanding that we could use ARPA funds to get this created and distributed to our voting membership. I don't know the accuracy of that, so I'll maybe talk to the business committee more about that. We submitted a service agreement for the council to help us out. I sent that to the business committee last week. I haven't seen a return on that. Is that what am I looking for in that regard so that we can start engaging?
So I believe it was a unanimous decision, a unanimous vote as reflected in our phone polls. We've all approved that. I think, however, there may be just a little discrepancy or issue that we need to work out with the wording of the contract. But other than that, expect it probably within this next week.
Okay, excellent. And before the end of the month, I'll be submitting in writing to the business committee the request for proposal to request a special general counsel to start making amendments to the governing resolution. And at general counsel, so that won't be done in time for general counsel, but at general counsel, we will make time to present and field questions from anybody and everybody. And so we intend on having some town hall type meetings for folks who can't attend general counsel. We just want to make sure that everybody is as informed as possible to decisions and changes we're about to embark on. But other than that, that's all we've got for now.
Thank you, Roman. And as I think it goes without saying that the business committee would like to help and assist in getting as much information as we can out to our general counsel. And I am, depending on what your level of publication is, I do know that within the guidelines of the ARPA funds, those can be an allowable expense for those. So we'll just need to double check with that, and we will have an answer for you this week sometime.
Excellent.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Roman? Okay. Well, thank you, Roman. We appreciate it, and hopefully you get to feeling better soon. At this time, are there any other subcommittee reports to report today? Um, is Dr. Allen on? Dr. Allen Kaufman?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you, Alan. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Similar to Roman, all the families under the weather, so and it is COVID. So, so I just want to take a few minutes today to share some updates on the compensation committee's activities and also share out the outcomes of resolutions that we passed within the committee, if that's okay. Before I do that, our bylaws for the committee prescribe that we have to have the business committee's approval in order to share the information, as it is confidential, and should only be done so at the request of the business committee or at the general counsel.
Do I have a motion to allow the disclosure of said information?
I move to waive.
We have a motion to waive,
Second.
second by Mr. Turley. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Can we do a roll call vote, Mr. Secretary?
Michelle? Zach?
Yes.
Lloyd? Guy? Yes. Callie? Joseph?
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Okay, motion passes, and we have waived that disclosure. So the floor is yours, Mr. Kaufman.
All right, sorry, I'm having trouble. Kind of the mute button is sticky. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. If somebody can allow me to do that for the Zoom, that would be okay.
I think we're getting it worked out as we speak.
All right, sorry, I apologize for that.
No worries. Okay, it looks like we.
All right, you see that? Yep.
Yes, we got it.
All right, so thank you for allowing us to come and present here today. I wanted to just kind of first recognize that you know, the work of the compensation committee has been ongoing since the special general council meeting in 2020 in October. You know, we've had several stops and starts with regards to progress, you know, and I took over chairmanship of the committee maybe about 8 to 9 months ago, and really it was then when we started to kind of hit the ground running and getting some things together. So the current membership of this committee is myself, who chairs, Dr. Jennings, and Rodney Spriggs. I think both of them are on the phone today with me here as well. But I just wanted to be very clear about the scope of this committee. This committee's scope and objective is to research and set the compensation structure for the members of the Quapaw Nation Business Committee. We wanted to keep very narrow focus and just wanted to comment on a few things. Number one, it is not our responsibility to debate about job responsibilities of the business committee. I think the responsibilities of each position are outlined in the governing resolution. And likewise, just kind of separating ourselves a little bit from the Constitution Committee that Roman just brought to the committee, is that they do not weigh in on the current compensation of the business committee, but I think that their outline of what they're preparing for general counsel could influence this compensation, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit as well. But really, just narrowly, we're setting and activating the compensation structure for the business committee of the Quapaw Nation. So, a couple of considerations. This is a very complex issue. It is not just picking a few numbers out of a hat and saying that this is what it should be. We have to go through several different layers of compensation and how it's affected by different things with regards to operations and structure. For example, the Quapaw Nation's government right now currently has the chairman role, also acting as an executive director of both the tribal affairs, right? So the day-to-day activities of the tribe itself proper, but then also the nation's businesses. And so that is a dual hat role. Similarly with the secretary treasurer, same thing. When we talk about the duties of a secretary versus the fiduciary obligations of the treasurer, that's a dual hat role. And so that impacts compensation. The legal structure of the Quapaw Nation's key businesses, obviously, there's been a lot of discussion around Downstream Development Authority and the roles of W-2 versus 1099 employees, and so that also has an impact on how compensation can be structured. The business committee member roles and responsibilities themselves, right? So how they are described and what people do, that also affects the compensation. The size of the nation, the scope of the nation's assets and liabilities. You heard Joseph talk a little bit about EBITDA. It's very important when we consider the impact that can have to, sustainability of the tribe. And then also benchmarking data, what's available, what's not, what's an aggregate and what's targeted towards these roles. We found that tribes generally do not like to share openly and publicly a lot of information around compensation of their board members. And so it took a little time to kind of get some of that data together. Also the value potential for the Quapaw Nation, what does the future look like? And also the various compensation sources available to members, because it's not just salary. So I want to point out, these are the high level findings. So as we took the national aggregate data that we received from most benchmarking study that looks at the operations, the roles, the data from 45 tribes across the nation, there is a very significant undercompensation right now currently, what's being paid to the chair and the secretary treasurer, both from the national aggregate data, but also from what we could attain from approximately 5 tribes with attainable information. And these are known tribes with either similar size or operations. The vice chair and the national aggregate data was overcompensated, but when we looked at the attainable data, it was undercompensated. And then when you look at the general members of the business committee, it's approximately a parity. I mean, if we calculate and extrapolate to the 90th percentile, which is what I would approximate that our tribe is with regards to compensation, they're a parity. When we consider fringe benefits, we looked at things like medical benefits, stipends, auto allowances, housing allowances. These were all found to be common across not only the national, but also the attainable data. And then bonus structures. Bonus structures were also very common, but these were most commonly tied to the EBITDA performances of the businesses. And so I'm going to share in detail the changes that we have recommended and we have passed within the committee. I'm going to start with the officers. Currently, for the chairman, he's paid $150,000 annually. We have increased this to $362,000 annually. We have recommended that a retirement contribution, again, common across all the data that we saw, of 20% of base salary. There is a bonus schedule that I'm not going to describe here, but we can discuss at General Council per our resolutions. Also, full tribal benefits that are, provided to the tribal employees, as far as medical, dental, vision, insurance should be included. And we talked about the allowable use of tribal assets. We have approved the use of tribal assets. However, it is not our remit, and we felt that it was not our remit to impose limits or the appropriate use of such assets. And so we have recommended that the business committee, with speed, provide a resolution outlining the limitations and the conditions for use of such property. The vice chair, again, $150,000 annually. We have increased that. So we erred on the side of increasing that because the vice chair is a big role. We felt that, learning and to become the chair eventually one day, and being there, to delegate and things like that, the roles of the chair, because the chair is a big role, as we've seen. We increased that to $250,000 annually. Again, very, very in line with the attainable data that we were able to attain. Similar structure with regards to retirement, bonus schedule, benefits, and allowable use of tribal assets. The secretary treasurer, we also increased to $300,000 annually. And again, similar structure down there. Now, I want to point out that these numbers reflect approximately 240% increase over base salary. And that was consistent across the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary treasurer. And again, this was based on in detail benchmarked aggregate data across 45 tribes across the nation. General membership compensation. So right now, currently, they're at $125,000 annually. The new proposed structure is per a schedule, and that schedule is down here in the red, if you see that. The retirement contributions and bonus schedules were none. This was consistent with data. We also, however, did allow for an opt-in of full tribal medical benefits, not to be used as a secondary or tertiary policy, but in the event they needed those benefits, it was available to them. And similar allowable use of tribal assets pending the resolution from the business. So I want to point out a few things about this schedule. This base salary schedule will not become effective for the current members until at such time where they have been re-elected or a newly appointed member has been put into that seat. So for the folks that are running for the next general membership seat, this policy will be effective. The basis of each of these responsibilities is going to be provided by the chairman. And then this schedule is meant to encourage the general members' active involvement in tribal businesses, activities, and programs, and really meant to also broaden the ability of all members across the nation to contribute in our government. So I'm going to stop there. I'm sure there will be questions, and I'm happy to take that. I'm going to stay on for the rest of the call. And again, I think Derek and Rodney are also on the call, so we can certainly answer any questions around the rationale for these recommendations. I do also want to point out that we have been tasked with setting the compensation, and so we will seek to activate that. However, there has been much confusion around our ability to do that. And so I think it's really put not only our committee in a very difficult position, but also put a lot of the infrastructure into a tight situation or a precarious situation. And so I would like to be able to activate this as soon as possible, because this committee was started in October of 2020, and here we are in May of 2022. I think it's high time that we get this done. So, happy to continue that conversation, but we will seek to start to activate this, very soon.
Thank you, Alan. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hoffman?
I do, Chairman.
Sure, Vice Chair.
One, as you know, there is a lot of questions regarding all of this, and I have gone out and sought a second opinion, and I'm currently in the middle of getting it. I should have already had it this morning, and I apologize, I do not. But some of the main key points here was that they might have been tasked with getting this information, but they're supposed to report it to General Counsel. This is my interpretation so far, and the interpretation I'm getting. They were not empowered to make it happen. They have not been charged with the duty to empower the pay. So, we've got one opinion out there. I'm working on a second opinion, and I feel like we should not move forward with any payment to anybody until it has been either settled through this or given to General Counsel to approve. And that is my my words on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
So as a committee chair, I will point out that this is the exact issue that we're having right now with regards to putting the committee in a very precarious situation. If you go back and look at the video, yes, the discussion does not equal the motion. The motion is to set the compensation structure for the Quapaw Nation's Business Committee. That is the position of the committee, and that is what we are moving towards. There are differences of opinions. I am not sure how, and we do not have the power to, reconcile.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr.
Alan, this is
Buffalo.
Lloyd Buffalo. My problem with your whole scheme of salary is the fact that you built that around the fact that the committee is now the DDA, which is possible to get bonuses. I don't expect that the business committee should continue to be a member of the DDA. I think that even in my comments regarding my run for re-election, I support the fact that the business committee should act as a government, not wear four hats. I believe that the compensation should be based on what they do as a business committee, not as directors of casinos. I don't believe that the business committee should get a bonus for what they're elected to do. They are representing the tribe. They're supposed to speak for the tribe. They're supposed to do things to benefit the members. We're not here to draw big salaries. Now, it don't matter what salary you said. I really don't need it, I'll be honest. And I think that you should reconsider your calculation based on a government, not as directors of casinos. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so that's fine, Lloyd, and totally hear you. And that's what I meant by this is the structure and the government in which we're working now, right? It does not obviate the fact that Joseph is both the tribal affairs and executive director of the tribe. And that responsibility per the data is conducive with that level of compensation. These are facts. However, Roman's Constitution Committee, that may change. We don't know what that structure is going to look like. However, there is possibilities that those get split. And then yes, I believe that you're right. So just wanted to point out that we're working with what we have and the roles and responsibilities that we saw today.
This is Lloyd again, and you're agreeing to what I say that, and that's why I made a motion in the last meeting that the committee decline any increase in income at this time and wait until the election's held. There are new
Yeah.
committees seated, and they may not even be involved in
So-
this. So I think it should be based strictly on business committee as a government of the nation.
So I'm having trouble hearing Lloyd, but I think what I'm hearing is, yeah. So just to point out that that motion is exactly the reason why this committee was created in the first place, to remove the business committee from being involved in any compensation recommendations and structure setting directly. So that is why this third party, this committee, myself, Rodney, and Derek, was created to recommend and set that. Just wanted to point that out. And so, our role, as a committee has been to do that. We've done that. We've passed the resolutions. This is the structure that we're recommending. We need to enact this. This needs to be done. And again, going back to the point of now we have differences of opinions, puts everybody in a precarious situation. And I would, like to reconcile this as soon as possible.
Mr. Kaufman, Dr. Kaufman, may I ask why there's a rush? We only have 6 weeks until we meet with our general counsel.
Well, I would say that we have not been, we've been in a rush. Yes, we've been trying to get this done, frankly, because for a couple of reasons. Number one, the committee was chartered in 2020. We had, like I said, many false starts. We had members leave and subsequently pass on. Morgan, Derek's soul. We lost our first chair, and so we've been trying to pick up, a lot of slack. I think number one, it's just a matter of doing what's right. Facts are facts. The committee has been working their tails, busting their tails off to do good work for the Quapaw Nation, and they should be compensated appropriately. And so that is, to my, just doing what's right. I believe, and the committee believes, that this is justified, from a compensation standpoint. And we can sit here and talk about and debate whether or not it's goes to general counsel or it's the committee and this and that, but facts are facts. Whether or not it's 6 weeks or 6 months or a year, this needed to be done when the committee was started.
So just to echo some of Dr. Kaufman's sentiments on this, and this is largely the debate we had last month. The entire genesis of this committee, which is not a subcommittee, it is a primary committee created by the general counsel, same body that created the committee, this business committee as well, which means why we do not have any authority to regulate or direct that committee. But the whole purpose for its creation was so that the business committee itself, one, does not make its own decisions on compensation, two, does not influence them. Now, we had I'll call it a spirited debate last month about this, but as we can see right now, we have current sitting business committee members that not only we have a disagreement about the origin of authority for compensation, but two, are actively asking the compensation committee to reconsider parts of what they do, reconsider parts of their decision making, reconsider parts of their framework. This goes straight to the heart of the issue that you are not supposed to be influencing the decisions of that committee. And here you are actively trying to do it in a room full of people, a room full of our constituents that we work for. It is improper. It is wrong. And I will be passionate about it because I think it's wrong. You are directly trying to influence a body that is supposed to be entirely autonomous and totally independent. You are injecting your opinions into their decision. They don't answer to you. They don't answer to me. They don't answer to this committee. They answer to general counsel just the same way that we do. So this body taking decisions to try and curtail or regulate any business that they take is improper. So, as a personal opinion, just that I'd voice it, we are a nation of laws. We are a bicameral government. We have a court system, the courtroom in which we are sitting in at this moment. As the designated financial officer of this tribe with plenary power over treasury management, I will submit a request to this court for a directed judgment to our Supreme Court to make a decision on this, seeing as how our compensation committee has repeatedly produced different legal opinions that verify the validity of their authority. We have not. So we will seek clarity through the court. We will remove ourselves from the equation, which we should have done from day one, and what I have tried to do from day one. I have never wanted to be involved in this, and now I've been sucked into it. It compromises the validity of this government. It compromises the validity of our service to our general counsel and our members. And I don't want to have any part of it.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Newton.
Okay, for something you don't want to be a big part of. I'm not trying to be ugly here, but you're pretty passionate about it. And I believe that if I believe that none of us should be even speaking about this, because I don't think it even should even came to the business committee to begin with. Period. If we're to stay out of it, we all should be quiet about it. And I believe that if the grievance or the compensation committee is so, I mean, I appreciate everything they've done, and I think they've done a great job. But again, if the general counsel created them, voted on them, then they should also have the right to be able to listen to what they have to say and have input in it. Not us.
And
That motion?
at no point in time have I ever denied that general counsel should have some input on this. Now, of course, we're looking at a motion made and created by general counsel. So the question is, what was created? What authority was created? And that is the genesis of this disagreement. This question of whether or not general counsel should be or shouldn't be having a buy-in or making a decision or being consulted on this is misdirection. It is disingenuous. That is not the issue that we're debating here. Now, of course, our chair here for the compensation committee will be presenting at general counsel this year. General counsel can take whatever action it should take, and it should. I will never fight to infringe or restrict the authority of general counsel, and any insinuation that I would is problematic.
Well, I think it's a good idea that we're getting some of these thoughts out on the table now before it is brought to general counsel, because if Mr. Buffalo doesn't say it here, he's going to say it there, and we're going to be going back to the, table. So it's always good to have those conversations. And yes, this was brought to us. For the record, if you are going to take it to our court system for interpretation, I would like to have my analysis also included because I got it from an expert. And the specific instructions to empower pay was not given to them. And I would like to know who interpreted that it should happen. Secretary, Vice Chair, you are very passionate about it, and so is the chair of this committee, and I've got evidence to prove it, and I think everybody's seen it. And it is very upsetting to be talked down to like this when all we're trying to do is do what we've been tasked to do by the general counsel and take care of the nation, and we are just asking for questions and answers, and it has turned into something very ugly and very embarrassing. So for the record, I would like to have mine put into the
Can I interject
interpretation
real
and no
quick?
action taken until then. Thank
Sorry.
you.
It will of course be included. And now I am not talking down to anyone. I am simply voicing my opinion. I don't believe so.
So, real quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over everybody. It's just real hard to talk, like 1,200 miles away. One thing I just want to make clear, I do not care from a chairmanship perspective whether this gets done now or if it gets done in general council. I don't care. Our remit was to set the structure and enact it. However, I don't think between the two committees that we have a good understanding of when that should happen, how that should happen. And so I think it would be prudent to get an independent evaluation of that. I'm totally supportive. The committee is totally supportive of that. But I just want to say, like, from the personal standpoint of it, since you called out the chair, I'm just doing what was asked of us to do. And I have zero dog in this fight. Just want to let you know.
Any other comments? I intentionally, it's for us. I intentionally asked the compensation committee to present because we were the business committee faced with a decision and that brought forward spirited discussion in last month's BC meeting. And to my point then, I think it was a premature motion. And I know there's differing opinions that'll say otherwise, but I think we would have been well served to have this information and data presented along with that as part of the discussion and as part of the debate. And it's unfortunate that this issue has really devolved into what it is and what it's become, because at the end of the day, we're arguing about money. And that's unfortunate as a tribal nation, as a tribal government. One other point that I will make from my own perspective, closing out 22 months as my first and maybe my only term as chairman, there are individuals on this committee who get paid well, over $10,000 a month. And in my opinion, if you get paid big, you need to deliver big. You need to produce big. And I don't know, sometimes I don't feel like people are pulling their fair weight. And I'll just leave it at that.
And you may also mention in that, Mr. Chairman, is that
Go ahead, Ms. Newton.
in that 125,000 for 1099, and that bumped me personally into a much higher tax bracket. So I sit in $45,000 back to the government. So I didn't really come out smelling like a rose. And I do work very hard at pulling my weight on this committee. We have some very strong-headed, strong-willed individuals, and that there's a lot of good and bad with that. But I have no doubt, because of how strong-willed we are, some of us are, that we can. I feel like the devil's really got a battle against us right now, because I feel like we're moving forward in a good way. We're doing good things. And again, like you said, money, again, is come to be the issue here. And that's sad. It saddens me.
On the topic of the schedule, I think it's worth pointing out that this was not meant to be any sort of punishment or anything like that to current members or future members or anything like that. Really, the intent of this was to ensure that the tribe was getting the value from those seats, right? From that, right? It was going back to the tribe in some way. And I have no doubt that each one of you, I personally don't have this, data point, but I'm sure that everybody means well for the tribe and is doing the most that they can for the tribe. And I'm certain that, per that schedule, there wouldn't be a whole bunch of changes, right? But it does open up new opportunities, I believe. And so the aspect of, really being able to tap into really great talent from our tribe, this may activate some of that. And so that's what the tribe was hoping, or the committee was hoping to do with that schedule. And so I'll just leave that at that. There was definitely only opportunity building, with regards to that schedule.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody else? I want to make another comment that, and I believe Vice Chair mentioned it earlier, thanking the Compensation Committee for the work, not only the work that they've done, but their willingness to step into the ring of fire, if you will, on this issue, because it is an extremely contentious one, obviously. And I think it's okay. I think it's healthy for us to bring these types of things out into the public rather than discussing them, behind closed doors. And I anticipate a lively discussion in the next 6 weeks. And I hope everyone is there for that. I hope that everybody comes with open hearts and open minds on that one. And I'd also like to mention that the business committee currently is the sole authority, sits at the highest level, obviously with the business enterprises. And whether we're talking about the Downstream Development Authority or the Saracen Development Authority or the Quapaw Casino Authority, this entire body of the business committee for the longest time was kept in the dark. There were things that were going on within our business enterprises that were done under a shroud of darkness. And at the time of this new administration 22 months ago, this body made a unanimous decision for the business committee to assume those roles and that authority. And I'm not saying it was the greatest, but it was the best at the time, because there was things that needed to be seen by this body, and it was on us. It's our responsibility to report those back to the general council, to our citizens. And I think we've done a good job of doing that. We've continued to open those records and show exactly what happened previously and what we're doing currently. And so if anybody has lost sight of that or has forgotten how the business committee even came to be the authority over those enterprises, that's the reason why we did what we did. And again, I don't think it's the best, but it was the best we could do with what we had at that time. And we're in a transition moment as a tribal government, as a business committee. All of our businesses, we're responsible and we're tasked with operating a $1 billion portfolio. And I want to see the very best and brightest at that table whenever we do transact business. And sometimes that doesn't translate from the tribal government side. But the tribal government is injected into the business enterprise. And again, it's a transition period. That's why we've placed, and the General Council has placed its faith in this Constitution Committee for government reform, and that's what this is about. And this lively discussion that you've witnessed today is a result of that. And so we're trying and we're attempting, and I have faith that we will move forward and move past that. But it's this moment in transition that is very contentious. And again, we'll cross that bridge at General Council this summer, and I hope everyone can attend that. And I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Chairman, may I close this discussion with a few comments?
I think I just closed it.
I think my comments are more of importance too.
I agree. Go ahead, Mr. Buffalo.
I will echo what was said 3 times by you as chairman of the business committee at that time. You very plainly on that tape stated that this would be brought back to the general council by the Constitution or the Compensation Committee for approval or disapproval. That is all that I'm asking, that the general council have that authority, which they do. Shut up.
Thank you, Mr. Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah, Chairman.
Go ahead.
So just real quick, I didn't hear anything that Mr. Buffalo said, but I guess that will conclude this presentation. So I'll go on mute, off mute. Still need to reconcile how to enact this. So I understand the discussion was closed, but
Yeah, I think the best and most open way to do this is at General Council.
gotcha.
And
All right. Well, we were planning on being present in person and presenting all of the numbers and the rationale behind those numbers. So that is no problem. We will be there.
thank you. And thank you for your report. Okay, dropping down to new business. Would somebody mind taking that first resolution, please?
Resolution number 052122A. It's a resolution to authorize the sale of the Quapaw Nation's restricted interest in chat in the Bird Dog chat pile located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Secretary Treasurer,
Second.
second by Vice Chair. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes and the resolution is approved. Next up, Mr. Fairley, you mind taking that?
Yes, I'm gonna try to keep it together through this one. This has been 5 years in the making, so it's a very big deal to me. I've put a lot of time in on this, and it means a lot to me. You guys will look around and see all the public safety guys in here. This is a big deal for our tribe, a big deal for Indian country. This resolution, I'm going to give you just a little bit of backstory. I won't take very long, but it means a lot to me. So 5 years ago, we started trying to get into the state firefighters pension and the state law enforcement pension systems. We had a state representative, Ben Loring, who sponsored a bill for us. Put that forward. It come out of the House side, and it was rejected and refused to be heard on the Senate side. That happened 3 years in a row. It actually started in 18 is when it was heard first. So 18, 19, and 20 rejected all 3 times by the Senate side. Was never able to be heard in Senate committee. So we met with our state lobbyist, Phil Ostrander, who's here today. He helped us. And in that meeting, we kind of made a joke. Well, why don't we just build our own? Because that's what the state kept telling us. You know, you guys want to be a sovereign nation. Good luck. Make your own system. We don't want you in ours. So nothing like that had ever been done in the world. there was no public safety pension system by a Native American tribe that had ever been built. The BIA had tried to do this a while back and was unsuccessful in making this. So I took the challenge on with some help from Phil. He got me hooked up with some people, and some of these guys in this room, they helped with this project, and we took off. And a year and a half later, we're here today. So this took a year and a half to build this system. We broke the company that was building it. We broke their software. It's a very complex system. So it's just very special to me. I'm very excited about it. This will change Indian country. We've already had calls from other tribes that want to know how we done this, how we built this system, and how they can be a part of it, how they can get their own. So what this does is this will enable our guys, just like any state or municipality, fire department, law enforcement, emergency management, will go into a defined benefits plan, and they will be eligible to retire in 20 years. And then there's different tiers of it as they go longer. But what's happened over the years is we kind of became a stepping stone to a lot of young guys coming into public safety. They would come here to be a police officer, a firefighter, and they would get their training. We would invest the time and the stuff into them, and then they would get an opportunity to go work for a city somewhere, and they would take that because it was what was best for their family. They can retire in 20 years. Their wife, if they pass away, they benefit from that pension. Their children benefit from it. So it made it hard to compete with those entities to get those guys that's going to be here for the long haul for our public safety. And with the recent McGirt decision, we took on a whole lot more responsibility in public safety. We took on all of our reservations, so we kind of inherited commerce. And we've worked with the state agencies to make that better and safer for our tribal members here. But this pension system will allow us to go out, compete with these cities and states, federal government that offers pensions to get those guys that are young, coming into the business, that want to provide great care, great protection. And it's just very special to me. So I appreciate you guys letting me work on this. And this has kind of been a dream of mine. This is one thing that when I ran 5 years ago, it meant a lot to me. And I love all these guys. I've worked with them for a long time. I ask them to be here today because it is very special. So with that, I will move to adopt Resolution 052122B.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Turley and a second by the Secretary Treasurer. Any discussion?
Yes. I've
Ms.
just
Vice
got a few
Chair.
questions. Mr. Turley, could you just speak about the cost, the funding, and sustainability of this program, where it's going to come from?
Yeah. So what this resolution does is allows us to go into a service agreement with them to establish the plan, and then we can. So how the plan works is we will put an initial investment in to the plan, and then it will be. Thank you. Got some cheat notes here. So the money will go into the plan, and then it will be invested. So we'll work with an investment company that will oversee the plan, just like any other pension plan. They will invest that. The portfolio that I have is a template now, locks in a 5% interest rate every year. And then it just will grow over time. So the employees will pay in 9%, and then the tribe will pay in the 14%, which right now the tribe matches up to 5% on your 401k, and then they pay your Social Security and your fringe benefits and things. That Social Security and your 401k will go into the pension system. They won't pay into a 401k anymore. They'll be ineligible for that. So this will all go into this pension system. And then the initial startup cost is right at $5 million. I don't have the number right in front of me. But do what? Yeah, it's between 4 and 5, somewhere right in there. But I just said 5 to make sure I didn't undercut that. So I've talked with Eric Boone, our CFO, and our Secretary Treasurer, we have some options out there, and that's kind of the next step of this, is to bring those options forward. But there is a couple different options of where that funding comes from and how that's paid out for that initial investment.
So after the initial investment of $5 million that you guys are going to determine where that's coming from, because we've got a few options.
We've got
After
a
that,
couple different-
the cost difference will basically just transfer from the current 401k over to the pension system.
Yes.
And
Yep.
do you happen to know the difference on that?
I off the top of my head, I can't tell you without all my notes in front of me. It's very close. There's like a 2% difference,
Okay.
I think is what it is, roughly. But that'll be a running deal every paycheck, and it's post-tax into a defined benefit plan. So they pay taxes on that money up front. Your employees do.
And is that 5 million you're seeking almost a guarantee?
What do you mean a guarantee? Like,
You absolutely can get the 5 million
yes.
from the whatever source you decide.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
We have it in a couple different options.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
No problem.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other questions, follow-up discussion? If I could, I would like to add gratitude towards BC member Zach Turley, as well as his assistants from Phil Ostrander, who is present today. So thank you for your help. And to our fire and EMS, thank you for everything that you all do day in and day out, your service to the nation, your service to our citizens, and all of the public safety. And if there are no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes and the DPS pension plan is approved. Next up on the agenda, if we could, do we have Austin, our legal counsel, in pocket on Zoom? I'd like to bring him forth and have him give a little summary on some of the opioid litigation that the nation has been involved in. Hey,
Yes,
Austin.
good morning, Chairman. Can everyone hear me?
Good morning. We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
All right, good morning, Business Committee members and all members of the Quapaw Nation that are present. As many of you are probably aware, over the last 5 years, there's been a flood, so to speak, of opioid litigation related to how distributors and manufacturers of opiates caused a crisis in the state of Oklahoma and at the Quapaw Reservation and across the nation. And very different sovereigns have undertaken this litigation. And it was all consolidated together in what's called a multi-district litigation, which is a federal way of just putting a bunch of cases together. And the Quapaw Nation's case was included in those. So recently, in the last 3 months, there was a proposed settlement that came out of the multi-district litigation, which, if I believe the threshold is 90% of the participating tribes approve the settlement, then there will be a distribution of payment, including a payment made to the Quapaw Nation. The amount of payment is currently estimated to be about $325,000. That could go up or down depending on additional information that's given by the Quapaw Nation and other tribes as to how those allocations are calculated and whatnot. But given that this is a resolution to this is a legal resolution to an issue that is going to require healthcare response and the response of, obviously, I know we have a lot of emergency personnel present, and I just want to say, obviously we appreciate all the services people provide to the nation in addressing things related to the opiate crisis. But this issue has a lot of tentacles. It's going to require a lot of action from the nation as it continues to address it through service programs, through emergency response personnel and all that. But this is at least some monetary compensation that will help provide that. So the folks representing the Quapaw Nation in the MDL through that litigation have asked that the Quapaw Nation, the business committee, approve the basically signing off on the settlement and reception of the funds. And so that would be, in our opinion, our office reviewed the settlement. We've been involved in the opioid litigation at different levels for different sovereigns. And we think that this is an appropriate action for the business committee to take to receive some funds and some relief for this crisis.
Thank you, Austin. Do any of you have any questions for our legal counsel? Okay. Thank you for that summary and update. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Yes, Mr. Buffalo. We have a motion by Mr. Buffalo to adopt the resolution. We have a second by Vice Chair. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Any abstention? All right, motion passes and resolution is adopted. Would anybody like to take that next one?
Yeah, we have resolution 052122D to be a resolution to approve entering into a service contract agreement with Native Advisory LLC. This is a company that is owned and operated by former treasurer and board member of NAFOA, Lacey Horn, has approached the business committee with a proposal to help us with the regulatory compliance nature of our ARPA spending. Now, while we have a number of initiatives and a plan moving forward in terms of expenditures, the reporting guidelines that are going to be required from Treasury on the tail end of these expenditures is going to be rather laborious, not laborious, thorough. And so we've been presented with a ongoing contract that would allow for either as much or little help as we may need moving forward. This individual was the only person younger than myself to win NAFOA's Executive of the Year award. Consummate professional, but is sort of the leading financial resource within Oklahoma's Indian country when it comes to compliance with Treasury specifically. Not we look at compliance from a grant-related perspective from different agencies, but Treasury is a different beast. So we have this proposal in front of us.
Thank you for that introduction. I'll entertain a motion.
To adopt.
We have a motion to adopt the resolution by Mr. Turley. And a second.
Second.
We have a second by Secretary Treasurer. Any discussion on the matter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chair.
Last week, we had a meeting, and unless it has changed, where's Eric in the room? Eric, unless the opinion has changed, we had a meeting with our grants department and Eric and our admin, and we discussed what this person was bringing to the table, and we felt like we could do it internally. We can we can handle both aspects of it. And I am also concerned on the price. You know, it is $16,340 a month. In addition to more hours needed on, you know, whatever writing services are requested. So in discussion, I would just like to say that I would like to internally take care of it or give it a try. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Newton.
I just kind of wanted to add, I was hoping that before we would come to a vote, that we would be able to have another discussion after our meeting that we had with grants and HR and with Eric. I felt like there was still a lot of discussion that needed to be had since not everyone was there in the meeting, because I think we learned some stuff, and I think I would like to know more about a certain individual, a couple of them on our grants committee actually is qualified to do, because I think I didn't realize the extent of one personally has kind of been in this role, it seems like. And I may be wrong on the in-depth of it, but I don't know if we can, something that we can, again, postpone until we can have further discussion with these departments again. Just like to suggest that.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
would be amenable to tabling Ms. Newton. And I like that we're having this discussion in front of everyone, because we have well over $52 million in ARPA funds that we need to have strategy. We've been tasked with rebuilding infrastructure, rebuilding tribal communities, essentially. And it's a challenge and it's an opportunity to have this sort of money, free money from the federal government. And I think we need to do the best we can with it while we're here as business committee, as the nation. And I think it was misconstrued last week at the meeting that you're referring to, that we just want to somehow replace our grant writers or our grant department. Well, that's what I was hearing. If I'm mistaken, then I'll retract my statement. But nevertheless, this is an allowable expense under the 600 pages of ARPA guidelines that I hope all of us have read through. And again, it's an allowable expense, and I think it guarantees and it solidifies a very strategic, very compliance-oriented path for the nation. And at that point, I'm not thinking of 7 minds in the room. I'm thinking of all 5,600 citizens in the community. And that's why I support doing this. And I think it would behoove us to maybe hear from our tribal administrator or our CFO, because you are essentially tasking them and mandating them. When you say we can handle it internally, that responsibility is going to fall to them or one of us. So I would like to hear from our CFO or Donna on the matter, to get their opinion and to share it with everybody.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman, I had the opportunity.
Go ahead, Mr. Buffalo.
I had the opportunity to talk to CFO earlier today, and he thinks, I think I gotta eat this thing. He's thinks it's a favorable agreement. His only concerns are that when the discussion we had earlier this morning, he would like to meet with this individual because the way I understand it, the agreement has no assurances in it, but he's amenable to the agreement.
Yeah, I think we can take a look at the agreement. I think we should probably go ahead and table it because it sounds like while the business committee has met with this individual, we'll need to get her in front of our CFO. I don't think the largest concern that we have on this is that with the volume of funds on this, that with the very big red moniker on it from Treasury, that if we do not meet compliance guidelines, we are on the hook for it is always a real concern. So I guess I'd bring a motion to amend the main motion to table.
I accept that amendment to table resolution 052122D.
Okay, we have a motion to table. And that's been okayed. Any other further discussion on the table? Thank you.
And I would also like to add, potentially adding more bids to this as well. Thank
That's
you.
fine. Are you going to be collecting those? Well, she came to us in a general meeting. It wasn't a bid. So if you want to collect the bids, this BC, is that okay with the vice chair collecting those bids?
I would like to defer that to somebody else because I'm not in favor of this.
Okay, well, you're the one that made the suggestion.
Then I will retract that and I will not be in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Motion to table until next meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes and the resolution is tabled. Dropping down to purchases, would somebody mind taking that one?
This is to purchase speakers for the powwow grounds. The request to purchase new outdoor speakers that will satisfy and act like Northern Cree for the powwow. These speakers will provide a better sound and easier maintenance. The Joe Digital quote is the one that has been deemed, or what is it? Oh, demoed, demoed in the pavilion. So sorry. The funding is $23,452. This is from general fund. It has been signed off on by the CFO and the tribal administrator. There was 3 quotes obtained, and Joe Digital was the cheapest by, it looks like, about $3,500.
We have a motion.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Turley and a second by Mr. Buffalo. Any discussion? The only point I want to add is I hope you guys are ready to rock out in July because, man, we're going to be blasting. And it's going to be loud and proud. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes and the purchase request is approved. Next up on the agenda, we have donations. First up is the Be Strong 2022 football camp. And we have Mr. Sean Ellick in attendance. You could address us at this moment. Good to see you, Sean. Good morning.
We're going to be having
I want to interrupt. I apologize. Our mics are a little differently set up in this room, but you got to get down on it, man.
Good morning.
Like it's Friday night karaoke.
Okay, we're going to be having a football camp on June 18th at Quapaw. And we were looking for donations for camp t-shirts for all the participants. The breakfast that we're going to be serving, drinks throughout the day, the lunch that we will be giving them before they exit the camp. And we're going to have some individual prizes. Well, I wouldn't say prizes, but for like top awards for top athletes for all age groups for each offense, defense, and a camp MVP. And we've got a guy doing our t-shirts who gave us a pretty good price on all of it. And I don't know, Lana, she's the one that does all the talking for me.
So the guy out of Joplin, he gave us a price for $10 per shirt. That's including the screen and everything. We're looking to buy about 150 shirts. I've gotten several different calls from parents from Oklahoma City area, Joplin, Baxter. They're all bringing their kids. This camp's going to be free, just in honor of Blake. I get a little emotional because she's cancer free. So anyway, the guy that's running the camp, his name is J.R. Conrad. He's from Fairland. He is a Eastern Shawnee tribal member. He's bringing at least 11 guys from the Oklahoma City area. Some of his NFL teammates. So we're asking for. I originally asked for 5 rooms at Downstream for these guys because they're traveling the night before. We're asking for 7. I'm also going to be cooking for them as payment. JR says that I don't have to, but that's my way of paying them for traveling here. There's going to be a lot of experience that's coming to help these kiddos out. From Billy and Chayton's high school football coach to a coach from the Joplin Crusaders, which both boys play or Billy does when he's here. Like I said, we've got kids that are current players from TU, OSU, previous players from OSU, OU. It's going to be a good camp, and we would really appreciate your help.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions or?
Yeah, first off, I saw the news a couple of days ago. Congratulations. That's just amazing. And so you need 150 shirts? Uh-huh.
That'll give us, the 150 shirts.
Uh-huh.
And then the other 5 will go towards the breakfast food. I have turned in a donation letter to Walmart here in town for 6 for water and 6 gift cards for the awards.
Okay, well, I think we get a pretty good deal on shirts. So I think we can definitely help you with that. So what do you say? 7 rooms, $750, and we'll pay for all the shirts. Does that work? Awesome.
got a guy already.
Uh-huh.
Gave us he gave us sort of have the video on it.
Uh-huh.
With the ball. Can we use that guy?
Yeah.
Because he's also he's letting us shoot some of the football.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay.
Anybody else? Okay.
Well, I move to approve the donation request as stated.
We have a motion to approve the donation request as stated and a second by Mr. Turley. Any discussion? I just want to clarify the actual amount that we're donating again.
750 cash. Covered expense for t-shirts. 7 rooms downstream
And
for staff.
I'd like it on the record, and maybe our partners at Eastern Shawnee could match us. I'll talk to the chief. I'll talk to the chief, and I'll
as,
follow up Monday
as
morning
far
on
as
that
this
one.
being a free camp, we're gonna have donations. The families that bring their kids in, have a chance to donation jar set up. And we're gonna be doing a little silent auction for them people that come. The good stuff that we have to auction off. And JR actually has some things that he's working on that he'll have to donate to Bill and Kate. Expenses and stuff.
Wonderful. Okay. Sounds like a good event. Moving out of discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes, and the donation request is approved. Thank you all. And good luck at camp. Next up, the Army of the Kind, Carolyn Harkins. Is Carolyn here today? Okay. This is a mission trip to the Dominican Republic, July 19th through the 26th. And the request comes from a tribal member.
To follow precedent, I will make a motion to donate the remaining $500.
Vice Chair makes a motion to donate the remaining $500 towards the trip.
Second.
And we have a second by Ms. Newton. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Any abstention? We have one abstention by Secretary Treasurer. And the motion passes. Dropping down into closed session. So. For those of you that want to hang around, we will come back out shortly for open forum. However, just as a reminder, we'll be adjourning at 11:30 in recognition of the memorial dinner. Thank you. We appreciate your patience. Appreciate you. Tell them we're reconvening. Appreciate everyone that stuck around and is participating today. As we said, we're running a little behind. Waiting for Michelle, sorry. Under Robert's rules, we did not complete our closed session with the grievance committee and the enrollment issues. And because the orders of the day were set for adjournment at 11:30, we've already run past that. This body has no authority to bring because it's already been set. So, benediction. Anybody? Anybody like to lead us in prayer? Michelle, would you mind?
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you today for again that we can come together. And Lord, I just pray that you continue to guide and direct us at safe travels as we go to the tribal office, Lord, for the memorial dinner. And I just pray, Lord, that you continue to be with this committee, our general counsel, Lord, and all the decisions, Lord, and discussions we've had and yet to have, Lord. I just pray that you'll be right in the middle of it all. And we just thank you and trust you for all that you do for us. Amen.
Motion to adjourn? Oh, we're already adjourned. That's right.